This podcast has been created with you in mind to acquaint you with some of the most incredible metaphysicians and spiritual leaders from around the globe who have helped others change their lives. In this interactive hour, you will be offered insights and techniques to help you make a difference in your life. Don't forget to subscribe to the show on your favorite listening platform. And here we go, on to the show. Welcome to Guided Spirit Conversations. I'm Marla Goldberrg, and I am so excited to have you here today. Many of you are familiar with this week's guest. She has been in the public eye for most of her adult life as an actress and an activist. What you may not be aware of is the spiritual journey that she began many years ago and how her life has transformed from her quest. Today, Kelly Rutherford and I will be talking about her sacred journey, the catalyst that sprung Kelly onto her path, where it began, some of the practices she's learned and how she brings it into her daily life, and how those daily practices have reshaped the life she's leading today. Welcome, Kelly.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I'm so happy that you're here. I'm really honored and pleased. What I'd like to do all the time is start at the beginning.
Okay.
When did you start going down this path? What was the catalyst that brought you down your spiritual road?
Well, I think we all have it as children. It's not really talked about. In different families, I suppose it is, but there's a sense of magic that I think all children have, a sense of spirituality, a sense of awareness of another realm or an understanding. So I remember a lot of that as a kid, but not knowing how to express it or talk about it. My mom was great because she probably in my teenage years, gave me some books by Shakti Gawain, like creative visualization and things like that, which really helped, and Louise Hay and affirmations and everything. I'm gonna have to geek out on my glasses so I can see. But yeah, so that's from like my early memories of all of that. And then you go through life and you go to school and you deal with kids and you deal with stuff and you want to fit in and you kind of get off your, out of alignment really. Yes. With your path and trying to please everyone, please your parents, please the teachers and your friends in society, and fit into the norm, and then I think not everyone, but we all go through something like that in this certain program that we're in. And then, things happen that you just can't do it anymore. You just can't, you have things that happen in your life that just sort of
challenge you.
Yeah, that challenge you and evolve you and wake you up a bit and say, this is not where it's at. Where it's at is going within and surrendering and letting go and allowing,
So did you have an experience that sort of reawakened your realization that there's something else out there that can help you balance your life, shift your life, or change whatever was going on?
Yeah, a lot of it was, I really love Abraham Hicks.
Yes.
So Esther Hicks was really helpful during my most challenging times. It really, really helped me a lot. Before that, it was much more about manifesting what I wanted, or manifestation that I was interested in. Like so many of us, it's like, how do I manifest this or that? Or
yes.
And then it became more about, being in alignment with who I really am and love. And it became a lot. I've always been about love. I think that's always been a real through line in my life, and been that aware of the need for that, or seeing the need for that in everyone around me, where even as a child, just like, why aren't these people just coming from love? Like, what's up? Why are they also stressed out and trying to be so many different things for everyone? And, just feeling kind of like it's really about love,
And something we need a lot more of today because we have a lot of healing to do.
Yeah.
But going back to it, so as an adult, because we know the teenage and I love the Shakti Gawain book because it was one of my early books as well.
Yeah.
Was when you had whatever it was, whatever situation, because we don't need to rehash what is. It's more about, was there a certain thing that you tried? Like a lot of people go to Reiki,
Mm-hmm.
either as a receiver, or they say, oh, I'm going to learn this so I can help myself or others. What was your first, as an adult, modality or technique that started you wanting to learn more, wanting to bring it into your life?
I think realizing that fighting something that seems much bigger than we are, and when you're fighting something that is harming you, you know what I mean, where you're physically being, whether it's financially, physically, psychologically, you fight and you fight and you fight, and particularly if it's something like your children, you fight in particular. But what you realize is that, there are systems in place. So
Yes,
you can't take on the whole system, right? You can't take on the whole thing, or necessarily even an individual who is motivated, you know, from in a different way, in a different operating system than you are, coming from a very different place, frequency. So what happened was, it was just a matter of realizing that I had to let go. I mean, if I was going to physically survive, mentally survive, financially, I was, had spent everything. So it was more about, okay, I've done everything I can do. And so I have to just let go. And so I think sometimes in that letting go, I think that's what happens with all of us when we're challenged, is you hold on, you try different things, and sometimes the best thing you can do is take your attention away from it, let go of it, let go of the rope, that you're being pulled by in whatever that challenge is, and to be able to say, okay, I'm going to take my attention away from it. I need to find the joy, realign with who I really am, and stop judging the situation, the person, the whole thing. Just, it's taken too much of my life force to do that. And realign yourself, refocus yourself, reprioritize yourself. And so that's, you realize, because you reach a certain point, you can no longer do it,
right.
the thing, whatever it is,
I do know.
um,
Yes.
so you're like,
Firsthand, I know.
right. So, and the
Yes.
alternative, somebody asked me today, why are you so uplifting? And I said, because the alternative is not fun. I mean, the alternative, which is to be the victim, to live in this resistance place or judgment place, or anywhere that you're not in love, in a loving space, an
Right.
alkaline loving space, is not really in alignment, right? So it's just sort of remembering that and allowing that and trusting that.
Did you read books? Did you follow anyone? Was there anybody special that you resonated with?
Yeah, I followed a lot of people on Instagram. So it was kind of the beginning of that, time. So I kind of found my people, not intentionally, just sort of, you dive in. And then of course, yeah, there were books. Again, I think Abraham Hicks probably was the most helpful. I read a book called Bringers of the Dawn. Barbara, what is it? Marcianic, I think is what it is, about the Palladians. It's an interesting thing. So a bigger global view, a bigger view of things. Yeah.
And it's interesting how that happens, because we the majority of us who wake up, or are shook awake, because our circumstances, just, I can tell you, I was brought to my knees during my divorce, and it was brutal, and it was arduous and painful. And I just swore to myself I was just not going to break. Ended up being fractured, but not broken. And
Mm-hmm.
in the process, I started going to my first mystery school. So for me, it was, learning to heal myself, because nothing else in my world was working, and I needed something else, because I knew there was more.
Mm-hmm.
There's just more. when did you begin to feel the shift though happening in your life? So, a lot of times, um, like I'll just share, I had a gratitude practice, and I do this when I walk my dog. I look like a crazy woman who talks to herself because I do my prayers and I do my gratitude. And then one day I realized, like, I'm always happy. I'm always singing. And I feel like I'm walking on a cloud on a daily basis. And it was just this big epiphany because it was so subtle, the shift. Do you remember when your epiphany came, when you realized that you were released, you surrendered, and now all of this beautiful energy was coming to you?
Well, I think like you, it's a practice, it really is a practice of being in gratitude and making those lists. And even when you think nothing in your life is working, if you sit down and make a gratitude list, you realize that there's a lot of good stuff in your life, even at the worst, right? So that
Absolutely.
sort of starts the shift. And again, just filling your mind and your space and your energy field with good energy. It's like not watching the news and not taking in all this negative stuff, and really everything is a program, right? So we've learned things from the time we were children that that's just what we were taught. Is it all true? We don't know, right?
Right.
But so we may as well, some of it probably is, some of it probably is other people's beliefs and ideas, and we just kind of took it as our own and whatever, right? So we may as well reprogram ourselves, in which is kind of what you're talking about when you're walking the dog, which is I want to reprogram my subconscious mind to believe that in what I want to believe in, and feel the way I want to feel, and live in the world in which I can create my own reality. So it's a relearning. Everything that we've learned along the way. So to sort of do it for ourselves is really an important thing. And I think affirmations do that. Surrounding yourself with people on the same frequency that are evolving, and it's important.
Do you also receive energy work from outside practitioners?
I have intuitive friends that I've talked to over the years. Just I relate. I mean, I think if you're an empath and you're intuitive yourself, you relate to people that possess that, maybe, and even yeah. So I have, and I haven't done a lot of physical energy work other than yoga, but I mean, and massage and that kind of thing. But definitely worked with healers, yeah, over different things
Parts of your parts of your life you've
along the way. But I'm from LA, so everyone was doing that when I was, yeah, everyone's been into that for years,
yeah, and it's
well-being.
But not everybody embraces it. Some people talk about it, they just don't walk it. And
Right.
some people walk it and they try absolutely everything that there is. So you have all kinds. And LA is a very interesting place. And it's, but the one thing about LA, the energy there is open and receptive, as is all of the West Coast I've found. You go to the West Coast and the East Coast, and it's very open. And maybe because the water lines it.
Yeah.
But like you go to a place like Chicago and the energy is much denser.
Yeah.
And they're more skeptical. So to get people to open up and be receptive towards energy work is not as fluid as, let's say, the East or West Coast. Because you go to New York and there's a ton as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Different energies, different places for sure.
If you're just tuning in, I'm really thrilled to share with you that I'm talking to Kelly Rutherford today. And Kelly, from her stints as an actress in her life, and she's an activist and a mother, and she started a spiritual path a number of years ago, and we're talking about her path, how she got here and what she does and how it transformed her life. So welcome back, Kelly.
Thank you.
So you have a practice, you believe in gratitude, you believe in I call it love breathing, because you want to be in a place of love and joy, and you breathe it in, you breathe it out, you share it. Your children, are they aware of your gratitude practices and the other practices that you do? And if they are, do they incorporate it into their lives?
Yeah, I think the best thing we can do is be an example, with the kids, especially
Yes.
because you try to tell them and it's sort of like, you get eye rolls and all sorts of things. At a certain age, you're just like, so I always find that the best way is to show, be an example of that for, them. And also, most of what I do with my kids is just honor them. I mean, my big thing is that, we really more and more need to just focus on honoring our children, and they come in with the upgrade. We're an old operating system as much as we
Yeah.
keep doing our best to keep up, but they come in knowing so much, and I think that I do my best to respect and honor them. That doesn't mean I'm not their mom, and I'm but I always talk about love and kindness with them, and how we relate to each other, and sort of having an understanding of other people. Even just the other day, we were talking about getting frustrated just walking down the street, and how some people are slow and some people are this. And I said, well, just, everyone's at their own pace, and I said, all this judgment and getting frustrated and this and that. I said, we don't know what somebody else is going through. I said, what if you found out that they, had just gone through a huge thing in their life, and there you are being, upset with them for walking slowly down the street or something. I mean, it's just, and it's how we use our energy. It's like, are you going to use your energy for that? Or are you going to use your energy to bless that person as you walk by and say, okay, aren't I fortunate that I can walk by and I can walk fast, and that, I'm young and healthy, and it's just, I think instead of judging people, we should be blessing them silently. Just bless everyone along our path, because I think the world will look much different. I think this whole sort of lower frequency, and I think we're feeling it more and more, this really relating to energy,
Yes.
more than anything else, more than where we're from, what we look like, because nothing is really as it seems. I think we're all getting to realize that these sort of broad judgments, or broad, I don't know, about people is
Yes.
very limiting belief. So it's just limiting, to say that all people of this, from this place or that religion or this color or this whatever. I mean,
Or this
it's just,
political
I
belief.
think it keeps us locked in a certain vibration that is sometimes orchestrated. um, and I think it's probably better for us to just say, what, each individual carries their own frequency and their own energy, and that's what I relate to. And what you find is you just don't even attract people anymore that aren't of a certain frequency and aren't in a certain harmony with you. If you stop judging, it's almost like the judging attracts more of it and creates,
It
it
does.
keeps you, again, it keeps you locked in it. So anyway, it hasn't really throughout history done us much good so far. So I think that just judging people based on each person's energy is frees our energy up a lot more.
You're 100% correct. I believe the same thing. And at least you're correct in my book. So, because I can't say for everybody, but I believe the same thing. And like meets where like is. So did you ever notice there's somebody who's always having issues over and over and over again, and they keep having the same issues? But when you break through and you start shifting your belief system, your perspectives, and you raise your vibration, everything that comes
Definitely.
to you raises as well.
Yeah, that's the benefit.
It's the benefit. And that's why I talk about, now's the time to heal. We're in a birthing process, so I don't know if you've heard of Deirdre Haid, but her husband is Will Arnst. He's the man who created What the Bleep Do We Know and the
I
sequel.
love that
I
movie.
know,
How
wasn't it great?
fabulous. Yeah, wasn't Joe Dispenza in that movie too? Wasn't he one of the people that spoke in that movie? And he's so great.
I think so. He
Yeah.
is. He's wonderful. And so she put it beautifully. Like right now, we're like in the birth canal of the birthing process. So it's
Mm-hmm.
now I have never had my own child. So I haven't experienced that, but I hear it's, painful and it's dark and it's bloody and you're trying to push this boulder out of you and this little
Yeah.
human boulder.
Yeah.
And then, but then there's a light at the end of the tunnel, more light. The veils are lifting, more light. We're coming into a new
Mm-hmm.
place. And in being so, the vibration will lift again. I truly believe that. and a lot
Yeah.
of the negative stuff that we're dealing with will fall away. And speaking of
Mm-hmm.
falling away, when you started shifting your perspectives in life, did things start changing for you personally and professionally?
I mean, it's an ongoing process, isn't it? I mean, it
Yes.
evolves, right? And you just keep kind of realigning with different things and people and information. And it's kind of a subtle thing, really. You know, all of a sudden you look around and you go, wow, I don't have all that the drama I used to have in my life. And I'm, you know, and in the beginning, you're so used to it.
Right.
You
You're
know, it's almost like
sensitized.
you're used to things being and operating and or feeling a certain way. So it takes a minute, and you know, you also you go up and down. You know, sometimes you feel like you've you know made these sort of leaps, and then the universe will come and show you to remind you that you have, you know, and to sort of bring different things up again. But I don't think there's this overnight thing. I think it's really gradual, and it's, I mean, for some people maybe it's an overnight thing, or they have a spiritual awakening in some very, you know, in a moment or something. But mine's been a very, you know, just evolving. It's always evolving, and depending on, you know, where I put my focus and how much time I take to connect up. But what I find now is that, you know, for the most part, when you get rid of all the sort of boundaries of things or limited ideas of how it should be done,
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, I have to meditate in this way, or I have to be spiritual in this way or that way, that you find that you're just in it all the time. You're more in it constantly than not. It's almost like you shift back into 3D, or you go, you know, we've been talking a lot about 5D and
Yeah.
3D. And it's really, the more you create your own reality, the less you rely on outside things, you know. And so of course it's shifted my perspective on my work, my life, my family life, my, you know, how I see myself in the world. And there's a lot more trust. There's a lot, not that I don't worry like every parent, or worry like every professional person, you know, have a sense of that. But there's less of that, and more trusting and trusting that things are aligning, and they do. The next right thing will align, and it does, you know.
It does align. I agree. And it's amazing the epiphanies that happen. They're like you said, they're subtle, but they're there. You know, and yes, I can only talk from my experience, but for me, when I started raising up like that, it was amazing who kept dropping out of my life. And the more
Mm-hmm.
they dropped, the more peaceful it became, the more joyful it became.
Mm.
And now, you know, when people say this has been a really hard year, I could say I can understand that, but for me, it hasn't been hard because I've been in my place, and I do my practice, and I stay elevated. And if I'm feeling like one of those down days, I just throw on that music and I start singing
Mm-hmm.
my brains out.
It helps.
It does help. I hope nobody's around to hear it because it would hurt their ears, but it makes me feel great.
Right, right.
so,
Totally.
so
Totally.
in learning these new processes, have you found more opportunities coming to you because you're vibing higher, and it just seems like just things fall into your lap more synchronistically than they used to. It's not a struggle to get what you might work, for example.
Yeah, in different ways, like because I think, you know, what you think you want and what you really want may be very different vibrationally, right? So we
Yes.
think like, oh, I want this car, or I want this thing, or let's say it's just material things, or you want to, you know, but what you learn to trust is that everything you need and does show up. You know, it's funny. It's like, again, it's like not having to limit what it is even, you know. It's like if you need a car, it shows up. If you need a place here, you need a thing, you know, and you're always sort of in a more guided place, I guess you could say, which takes, you know, trust and a leap of faith. And it may not always look the way you thought it would look, but it feels the way you want to feel, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Like it's more the connection to how do I want to feel what if all my needs are provided for? Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
What is it that I ultimately want to feel? And that's what has been the big shift, is feeling more in harmony, feeling more peaceful, feeling more abundant in maybe different ways, or finding, joy in different things than maybe I did before. So,
I understand totally. And I think everybody out there understands that. And here's the thing, I feel that the needs that you want change, that, you want the need of nature, the need of
mm-hmm,
hearing children laugh,
mm-hmm,
simple things like that bring you so much joy, where to me now a car is a mode of transportation.
mm-hmm,
And my husband just bought a new car, and we were going through it, and I said, at the end of the day, it's a car.
yeah,
It's a way to
yeah,
get you from A to B to C, and you go from there. Because we're in my younger days, I wanted and I wanted and I wanted, but now my wants are just different. I just want
yeah,
healing. I want people to have the comfort and love that they need and want and desire, things like that,
mm-hmm.
which I think resonate with what you were saying.
Totally, totally, it does. And you can still appreciate beautiful. I mean, like a beautiful car or a beautiful set. It's.
Yes,
But and I think, again, like you said, when you're younger, it's and we're infinitely creative beings, right? It's just, what do you want to create? And maybe once you've had those cars and you've had the nice things and you've done that, you realize that they're beautiful. But what
yes.
is it? And is it about beauty? For me, I mean, for most of the manifesting I've done really has been about beauty. I just love beautiful things. So,
It
like
doesn't surprise me.
on the material side of things, I love fashion, I love art, I love beautiful things, I love connection. But it all is connected, right? It's all,
It is connected, but
yeah.
you do have pattern. So I did take the liberty of checking your birth date, and so I do a modality called Chinese face reading, and part of it there's numbers, and so one of your patterns is about beauty and aesthetics, and you're a great people person, and it's really important to you that whoever comes into your space feels good and comfortable.
Mm-hmm, for
Like,
sure.
you would be the best hostess on the Titanic. So as the ship's
Oh
going down,
no.
you've got hors d'oeuvres going, violins playing,
Oh my
and you're
God.
making everybody feel comfortable and
Yeah.
just having a good time.
Yeah. I'd be like, I'll see you on the other side. It'll be fine.
Exactly. Let's find a place to
It'll
meet.
be okay.
Exactly. But
Oh.
I had noticed you're always wearing like beige or light colors, which also
Mm.
supports what I'm talking about in terms of preferences.
Yeah.
So, and you're
Interesting.
also highly intuitive. I'm not quite sure if you're
Mm.
aware of that.
Yeah. Yeah. I more and more as I've gotten older, I'm more aware of what that is. I've always had it, but you don't always know. I think
Right?
my kids have it too, and so I'm trying to talk with them about it a bit.
Kids are more apt to have
Oh.
it because the veils are lifting for the children. The children that are coming
Mm-hmm.
in today are just more sensitive, more intuitive. 10 years ago,
Totally.
20 years ago, they were talking about the crystal children, the indigos.
Yeah.
And now they're getting even more sensitive to that. And so, yeah, it's not surprising at all about it.
Mm-mm.
I didn't mean to just sort of like throw you into that, but
I love it. I love it. It's wonderful.
but yeah, it's just part of your pattern, and people do migrate to you. Do you
Mm-hmm.
find that you tend to be the nucleus around your friends and family?
It depends. Like my brother is so charismatic and fun. I mean, my brother, we'd go somewhere, and if he wasn't there, everybody would say, "Where's Anthony? Where's Anthony?" He's much more outgoing and charismatic. I tend to be more quiet and sort of, I'm okay on my own. I don't need a big
Mm-hmm.
social life, but I do have a tendency to want everyone to feel loved and, feel good. Do you know what I mean? That's for
Absolutely.
sure. And I do, yes, in that way I do. I think, yeah, have that experience with my family and people around me for sure.
So, yeah, I was looking at your patterns, and it was very interesting.
So
Um,
cool. How do you do it?
um,
How does it work?
Well, first of all, your facial features, how large, how small, where they're placed, they tell one story. And then your
Ah,
birth date has a pattern. So the pattern is your overall um,
number.
personality.
Oh,
Then you
okay.
have how you deal with things in stress, and then your core issues. But in your core issues, which is about, it's about not enough. So there's
Mm,
either a tendency to be a minimalist, or you tend to migrate to keeping things because you're worried there's not going to be enough, there's not going to be enough. But it doesn't have to
mm.
be things. It could be not enough love, and not enough attention, not enough this. And it doesn't feel right where you are. So it's charity shout out time. And so your charity is Free Arts New York. Can you talk about that and why it's so near and dear to you?
Yeah, I went to a lot of their events when I was living in New York, and it was really like inner city exposing inner city kids to art and art classes and all these things because they had taken so many of them out of the schools and such. So I love art, and I think it makes such a difference when you're growing up, having that outlet,
Yes.
having that place to go. So, you know, anyway, it was something. I really loved the group, and they'd pick an artist each year, and all the kids would go and work with this artist, and it was just really cool. That and there was another one, StepUp Women's Network, which is a wonderful organization, which is all about, it started many years ago. I think it was like not many, like 14, 15 years ago or something, and really about women mentoring women and helping each other in business and doing all of that. So that was also another great organization
That sounds
that I love.
wonderful. I think it's so important that women help women, women support
Yeah.
women. Yeah, because so many people don't know where to go, what to do, how to do it. And when somebody who knows how to do can just change the trajectory of someone's life so easily.
Well, I think that's
It's a
true
shame.
feminism. I mean, we talk about feminism. I think that's what it is. It's waking up and just realizing, hey, it's about women supporting women. It's not about blaming. It's not about, you can't live in the past. You have to move forward and support each other and uplift each other. And we're our greatest resource, and then the men want to get involved because you're successful. They show up like, wait a minute, what are you guys doing over here? So it's really yeah, that's to me what true feminism is women helping other women and us doing that with each other.
Well, the feminine is
For
about
sure.
support, nurturing,
Totally.
guidance. So feminism coming from that, it's the natural offshoot. It's just,
Yeah.
back in the 80s, feminism was more about breaking the glass ceiling, and women
Yeah.
started turning into men in a
Mm-hmm.
sense. They started putting their feminine side aside because they tried
Yeah.
to compete with a man on a man's level. And I'm wondering if we ever did a movie and you go back in time and you change it and you used it with using feminine wiles,
Yeah.
if it wouldn't have happened sooner or
Well,
easier.
that's where we're our most powerful, right? Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure. Yeah,
absolutely.
for
So what
sure.
are your tips for living a happy and fulfilling life?
Hmm. I think a lot of it is minding your own business. A lot of it is just doing doing what you need to do for you, you know what I mean? For sure. So that you are centered enough in love that you can be present for others. And we've taken this whole self-care movement to another level, or self-love thing. But what I mean is really, if you're being true to yourself and taking time for yourself, and like you talked about early on, healing, what needs to heal, and that's an ongoing process. Is not something that happens today or tomorrow or whatever, but just staying in alignment with whatever it is that keeps you in that loving place, whether
I
it's what
get
you're
to
talking
see.
about, affirmations, or listening to things that are inspiring to you, reading books that are inspiring to you, and just sort of eliminating all the things that aren't. It's like, how do you, part of it is just saying, okay, I'm choosing to, I'm choosing what comes in and out of my life, and what I'm reading and what I'm watching and where I'm putting my focus, for
And it's
sure.
and it sounds like you've learned that choosing, knowing that you have choice in everything you do makes a huge difference.
Hmm.
Even not choosing is a choice.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And it
Well,
sounds like you've got your arms around that one.
yeah, it is. It's choosing our thoughts. When we start to feel bad, we can usually trace it right back to some thoughts that we were thinking, or something we just watched, or a conversation that we had. So it's really just being aware of how we feel when we're around certain people, how um, and also bringing energy with us. So a lot of our power is in realizing that what we're creating. So if you're in having a conversation with someone and it's negative, let's say, or it's talking about something that you're not that crazy to talk about, you can shift the conversation, shift the energy. That's your power. That is your power. That is within your control to say, you know shift the focus onto something else, for yourself and for that person. Uplift. We can kind of go down the road with each other, and I call them algorithms, right? You could go down an algorithm with someone. So if you keep up, and where we're coming from is about seeing people be happy and succeed, and wanting that for people, and blessing people. You realize it comes back to you so in so many ways.
Yes.
Whereas if you're judging, or you're in a space of
Negativity.
yeah, or just not being with someone in terms of energy, right? You're not judging them just based on energy. Then you see it in your life, how it plays out. So it's just a more optimal place to come from, I think, is gratitude and blessing everyone.
I love that. Yes, I
Yeah.
agree with the gratitude. I agree with the, choosing to not put yourself in situations that are going to keep you stuck, and
Mm-hmm.
choosing to get out and move to a higher, I'll call them vibration. You can call them algorithms, but it's the
Yeah.
same, however you look at
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And I love the part about not judging, because, society judges. We've just gone
Mm-hmm.
through how many years of judgment,
Mm-hmm.
being a role model, not my
Mm-hmm.
role model, but, role model for people who haven't awakened yet. And knowing that if you put the judgment aside and you just accept things for who they are, where they are, and at what
Mm-hmm.
level they are, because like you said at the beginning of the show, nobody knows what somebody else is going through.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So
So
much of it's just seeing it. It's like you don't even have to say anything sometimes. It's just, if you see something that is, even with your kids or your spouse or work, that doesn't feel in alignment, it's just almost sitting in awareness of it and allowing it to pass through. It's interesting. My mom had said something to me, and I thought, oh, wow, whoa, just off the cuff, not meaning to, and I thought, okay, I'm just going to let that go. I mean, I probably in the past would have challenged her on it, or said, what did that mean, or this or that. And so I just thought, oh, that's interesting. Okay, I'm just going to be aware of that and let that just be. You know what I mean? And it's interesting. She called me a couple hours later and said, I don't know why I even said that to you the other day. I was just thinking about this or that. Anyway, I don't know why I said that. I love you and blah, blah, blah. So it's interesting how if you create space, people kind of get it, themselves. We don't have to say so much and point so many things out. And it really depletes our own energy engaging that way. Sometimes just an awareness of things shifts things.
it does. It does. And I still have to remind myself to let things go. I'm a human being. I sometimes get, pulled in, but then
We
I
all
try to
do. I
pull
do.
myself out. And so,
Yeah.
no, people think because you talk about it all the time that you should be, at a, is it a more than human level, where
Mm-hmm.
you don't get stuck in the human, the humanness of,
Triggered. Yeah.
yeah. And yeah, I mean, listening to your words going, yeah, sometimes I just need to, I need to like pull my ear or something just to remind myself to pull myself out of a
The
situation.
thing is, it feels better,
It
too. It's
does.
like, we spend so much energy on all these things. And I think what all these Buddhas and these people that, have been trying to teach us is just being awareness, awareness of what you're feeling, awareness of what's happening around you, and awareness of what you're creating. So what am I creating with the thoughts I'm thinking? And what am I creating with these actions and the words? Words are they call it spelling for a reason. I mean, we're casting spells all day long with the words that we say. So there's so many distractions from being aware. So much of it is saying, okay, how many of these distractions do I really need, and how many are worthwhile to me, and how do they make me feel? So that we can be more, more aware and present.
And authentic, and living in a mindful way. Because
Yeah.
present and mindful, two of the same things, two sides of the same coin.
For sure.
But it does, it makes a big difference in life. It makes a big difference in attitude. And don't you know, when you feel good inside, you just glow on the outside.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And people feel it. We are constantly transferring our energy. Our energies are connected to everyone all day long. So it's really important that we do more than ever.
Well, if you walk down the street, you're walking through
globally.
somebody else's energy field, and they're
You can
walking
feel
through
it.
yours. Yeah.
And
you're so empathic. You can be a little sponge.
Yeah, I know. Oh. True.
When we're
So
off, I'll give you an exercise. I'll give you something that can help you. But
okay, good.
But it's but yeah, you do, and people do pick up people's debris. I hate to put it that way, but it is, because if you walk into somebody who's got dark thoughts, it's like it comes on you like a sponge. And
it's interesting though, because you say that, but it's kind of what I was talking about before, because I know what you mean, being empathic. And how do you deal with that? And a lot of it is, again, like awareness. It's just noticing it. And it's interesting how if you notice it, they notice it without having to speak a word. And it shifts both of your energy. It's really beautiful. It's an interesting exercise.
It truly is. It can be. I know that there's an exercise I like to do when I'm driving, and I'll stop next to somebody and they'll be looking at me, and I just think, I love you. I love you.
Ah, beautiful.
And it just, and all of a sudden you just.
What does your husband think of this? I'm teasing.
Believe me, it took my husband a long time to even try to wrap his mind around what I do.
He's like, well, what are you talking about?
Now he hits me up for guidance. So
of course, I know. First they think you're crazy, and then they come to you for advice, right?
Exactly. Like, wait, maybe there's a little something to this. But he's actually highly intuitive himself, so he's got a good gut feel for things. He just doesn't like to admit to it.
Yeah.
And what about your former husband, the father of your children? How does he wrap his mind around this kind of belief system?
I don't really know. I don't know. I mean, I know I from what I know, he does yoga, and he's into that, and he's certainly into fitness and but I know he's super hyper intelligent, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Well,
Kelly, this has been just such a beautiful conversation. Thank you again for being on the show with me.
Thank you for inviting me.
Bridget, thank you. Right arm, left arm, I don't know what I'd do without you. I just so adore you. Thank you for all you do for me. Laura Rico, oh my God, what can I say? You're just an earth angel. I want to thank you, the listening audience, for taking time out of your day, out of your life to participate in this show. I hope that you're receiving what I'm sending out in terms of what I'm hoping that you will receive from these conversations, from the show. And I leave you, as always, by saying, I send you love, I send you blessings, and I send you gratitude. Thank you so much. You are loved. Take care.